Hello, and welcome back to the Retail Solutions track, where we continue to discuss how organizations in retail are transforming and modernizing their BI. My name is Uliana Oberzecek, Product Marketing Manager at MicroStrategy, and it's my pleasure to announce the next session in this track, where we will tune in to see video presentation from Anupam Singh, who is a Senior Director of Enterprise Business Intelligence at Crate and Barrel, and Arijit Kar, who is a manager of data architecture at Crate and Barrel. So in the next 20 minutes, we will listen to their story on how Crate and Barrel led a successful BI transformation that included migrating from legacy SAP BusinessObjects to the modern MicroStrategy platform. Also, Anupam and Arijit will join us live right after the video presentation, and we encourage you to post your questions in this chat tab and a question tab in your live discussion window, and we will address them live after this video presentation. So let's hear from Anupam and Arijit.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining the session. My name is Anupam Singh, and together with my colleague Arijit, in the next 30 minutes or so, we will take you through our business intelligence journey at Crate & Barrel Holdings. A journey that in some aspects began in the year 2003 when we formally forged a relationship with SAP to leverage their BusinessObjects platform. A journey that entails a transformation not just of the BI platform to a much more modern, more advanced, more flexible platform, but also a migration from our legacy data warehouse to a modern cloud infrastructure. We will share, as you will see in a few slides, our challenges and our learnings, and we hope that it helps those of you that are on a similar path for an organizational transformation. With that, let's jump in. So if you look at the agenda, here's the agenda for today's conversation. We will kick off with an introduction to our organization. Arijit and I will share a little bit about our backgrounds and experiences, and then we will jump into the core content. We will walk you through the origins of the BI team, our overall vision, the goals of the BI modernization project and the need for it, and a high-level overview of our cloud data warehouse. Additionally, we'll provide you an overview with our playbook that we used for the BI tool transition, and then we'll end with sharing out some key partnerships that we had along the way that were critical in our journey, and then what's next. So in the next few slides, we want to share a little bit about our organization. We are the destination for high quality, beautifully designed furnishings for the whole home. We are a lifestyle brand rooted in Northern European designs that stands for sustainable, timeless products that appeal across generations. With a strong gift registry business, our products are synonymous with major life events, including weddings, buying a new home, and having a baby. We're renowned for our expertise in everything home and inspiring our customers to create aspirational spaces filled with beauty and purpose. What some of you may not know in the audience is that, in fact, Crate & Barrel Holdings is a member of the Auto Group. The Auto Group is a globally active group of retailers and retail-oriented service providers with around 50,000 employees worldwide. Through 30 major company groups, it has presence in more than 30 countries in Europe, North and South America, and Asia. The Auto Group is one of the world's largest online retailers. Our mission is to inspire our customers to build a home with a purpose. If you think about our story begins in 1962. We were founded by Gordon and Carol Siegel in 1962 with an idea to bring simple, beautiful, and practical housewares to the U.S. market. Over the years, we've grown organically as well as through acquisitions. Here's a little bit about me. So once again, my name is Anupam Singh, and I'm the Senior Director of Enterprise Business Intelligence. I joined Crate & Barrel in January of 2019, been in retail for over 15 years, mostly working in areas of supply chain, merchandising, strategy, and operations. With that, I will pass it over to my colleague, Arijit, to introduce himself.
Thanks, Anupam. Hello, everyone. My name is Arijit Kar. I'm the BI manager responsible for the architecture in our business intelligence team. And I joined Gred& Barrel in 2019 and have over 14 years of experience, mostly in retail, travel, and hospitality domain. Now I'll pass it back to Anupam.
Great. Thank you, Arijit. As I'd mentioned at the start of the presentation, our BI journey in some respect began back in 2003 with the business objects deployment. Since then, and until about a few years ago, the BO platform was supported by developers that were a part of the technology group and mainly focused on getting operational reports built. There were some challenges with this setup, which some of you may relate to. For example, there was limited data governance and documentation in place, and often you had to reach out to individuals to get an understanding of how to read metrics on a report. There were misses in SLAs on critical insights that were due back to the business teams. There were data gaps, and often bringing in new data meant long lead times to get that set up. Our BO platform was dated. We were running a few versions behind, so we had security gaps. We forged a relationship with MicroStrategy in late 2017 with the thought of modernizing our platform. One of the key reasons why we picked MicroStrategy was because a good part of our user community, like most of you in the audience that work in retail for retail companies, were store users, and we wanted to maintain the integrity of operational reports that they were getting to cause minimal change management disruption, and only MicroStrategy RSD offered that option, along with its advanced dossier capabilities, user friendliness, and innovation in areas like real-time analytics with Hyper. We had good intentions, but with resource constraints, we did not make much progress in the transition. In late 2018, an executive decision was made to create a standalone strategy and BI group to address the gaps in our current process. A BI vision was put into place. Here's a high-level overview of our vision. Before we could advance or accelerate, we knew we had to create a data strategy to ensure consistent data availability, data quality, and data accessibility. We had to create a data intake process that was flexible and elastic enough to ingest additional data points from new systems and quickly able to provide insights based on that. We continue to grow as an organization, and this was a must-have. We needed to modernize our BI systems and processes so that essential enterprise information was available in a timely, accurate, and consistent manner. We also needed to establish self-service capabilities so that the organization could become more efficient and any bottlenecks were removed, including the BI team. So we did an inventory of what we had to work with. This slide highlights 3 key opportunities that were identified. We were still supporting 2 BI platforms, and limited work had been done to convert to MicroStrategy, a tool that we were paying for with only partial utilization. We were leveraging the AS400 DB2 platform as a data warehouse with its own set of challenges around performance gaps. Limited work had been done on data governance, hence arriving at the single source of truth was elusive. There were also resource constraints that needed to be addressed to accelerate the migration work. Based on what I just shared a second ago on where we started, we set 3 key goals for ourselves. 1, build out the BI team and operational model, including resolving any resource gaps. 2, modernize our data warehouse. And 3, consolidate our BI platforms. If you look at what we set out to achieve, the first thought that comes to your mind, especially if you're new to the organization and just getting started, is I need an army of people dedicated to this initiative to make it work. We knew this wasn't going to happen, so we got creative. And I'm certainly not going to take credit for this, but my boss, who is our CFO, COO, challenged me to identify SMEs across all departments to be a part of this initiative. They would not formally report into our group, but would be engaged with this initiative and help provide support as necessary. As you will see in the next slide, we indirectly developed a working model of an EBI Center of Excellence. So this is how we're structured. The core EBI team is relatively small with some key roles. We have dotted lines to our support groups in technology and all other SMEs in their functional areas respectively. We formalized the project intake process for any new insight development, as well as any new data source deployment in the warehouse, and have been leveraging Jira for workflow management. This has worked really well for us and was a game changer in how we ensured we maintain the team's productivity during the pandemic. I've worked for many large organizations, as you probably saw in my background, and the structure here at Crate is probably one of the leanest and the most productive I've come across. In the next few slides, Arjit will walk you through the overall data architecture in the cloud and also our playbook for BI tool consolidation.
Thanks, Anupam. So on this slide, we have a very high-level process flow diagram to give you some idea about how we move the data into the cloud. Our cloud data architecture pipeline mostly follow the ELT approach to minimize the load on our on-premise infrastructure. Our AS400 DB2 data warehouse environment was not designed to facilitate very granular level of information extraction for reporting or analysis purpose. As we wanted to build the data warehouse for the future, including the ability to do AI or machine learning modeling, we felt that it was a showstopper. And when you think about a holistic data analysis, that's not what we are doing right in the on-premise environment. We use mainly Ab Initio as our enterprise ETL product to move data into the cloud environment. And once the data is available in the cloud, we execute various steps, methods, mostly using SQLs to clean and transform the data optimized for our MicroStrategy's semantic layer. During this data journey, we also perform various techniques like data quality checks, data auditing, and have also set up email alerts to flag any exceptions. From a data governance perspective, we have documented all our KPIs, attributes, including data lineage, and have a dedicated resource that owns and manages it. In the next few slides, I will cover how we approach the business object to MicroStrategy conversion project. We started with an inventory of what and who. That means what report or analysis was being used and who was using it and for what reason. In this next slide, we'll go into a little bit of details about this exercise. As you will note here, we merged a lot of reports and tables, making our processes more efficient and reporting more productive. We identified very early in our transition process that we needed to treat store and corporate users differently. Inherently, due to the different needs and skill set of the teams, like most retailers, our store users typically consume operational reporting, whereas the power users were mostly at corporate. For minimal disruption to the store, we maintain the integrity of the report that were being converted for their consumption. We also engaged with our SMEs and platform partners to ensure we are getting the best requirement and setting up our processes in an efficient manner. In the next slide, I will cover a very high-level approach we took when we started this migration journey. So to minimize this manual effort in reviewing 35,000 reports for conversion, we mainly use BO SDK and Visual Basic Script to extract BO universe details and identify personal reports or schedules report to help us prioritize the right reports. On the reports needed for enterprise-wide distribution, we migrated reports that are currently being sent through subscription and was identified by our partners as still required. We connected with our SMEs about personal reports and set the expectation upfront that these would need to be rebuilt using MicroStrategy's self-service capabilities. MicroStrategy's features like centralized schema across all domains, object reusability, advanced filter techniques, dataset consolidation, compound grids in Dossier, which is a new feature came in 2020, intelligence cubes for data caching, help us a lot to reduce our overall report count that needed for conversion. On the architecture side, in the legacy BO world, various aggregate tables were developed on top of the same granular data to support better performance for our BO reporting. This was no longer needed when we transitioned to BigQuery. We eliminated all those aggregate tables and used techniques like partitioning, clustering on our fact tables to drive the best performance from our reporting. This also helped us to drill down capabilities from the highest level down to the lowest level, which was lagging in our legacy environment. Not to mention, now we have a clean governed data that can be leveraged in our AI and machine learning use cases. Now I'll pass it back to once again to Anupam.
Great. Thanks, Arijit. You know, the one point that Arijit made that I'd like to emphasize is that if you're taking on a similar initiative at your organization and your initial inventory of your existing reports to be migrated comes back in the thousands, just tell yourself that if it's eventually going to be in the low 100s at the most. Beyond that, it's just iterations of the same data across various views on user preferences. So again, it sounds daunting at first, but it's not. Trust me. Trust us, actually. It took us 2 years to get the BO transition completed. We could have done it much sooner, but like everyone else, we were not expecting the disruptions from the pandemic. Think about change management for over 500 people when most of those folks are working remotely. Now think about coordinating with multiple teams and trying to get alignment on KPIs and report consolidation through video conferencing. Think about trying to even do a simple whiteboard in a virtual environment. But we got it done and are super proud of it. The one thing I'd say is I have been fortunate to work for leaders that have taught me the importance of self-awareness. With the constraints we had and our goal to build a scalable and robust process, we relied on our strategic partners for insights and guidance as needed. We brought them along in our journey and have worked out really well for us. MicroStrategy and Google are experts in their respective domains, and rather than guessing at a path to take for efficient deployment, it made sense for us to work closely together. So where do we go from here? So we've come a long way, but we're not done yet. We're just getting started. We will continue to expand the insights within our BI platform and add components of advanced analytics over time. We're currently working with our MicroStrategy partners to explore MicroStrategy cloud deployment. Additionally, we're engaged with them to kind of explore basket analysis and how we can deploy that in the MicroStrategy cloud, MicroStrategy environment as well. We've come a long way to get to the one source of truth through consolidation and are excited about the future. We would be remiss if we didn't pause to reflect on this journey and why it was possible. It was because of all these individuals working together, collaborating, and providing a timely guidance that helped us figure out a way to work around all the complexities and challenges that were thrown at us and made it possible for us to move forward. That's all we had. Thank you again for your time. We're hoping that our experience provides some value to those in the audience who are either on a similar path or exploring one. With that, we can open up for questions.
What an inspiring story. Welcome, Anupam and Arijit, and thank you for joining us live today. And I have to say, I really like your background. And so while nearly every organization is looking to transform and enhance their business intelligence in the next year, so in your opinion, what are the barriers that usually block the path to that transformation?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question, and thank you again to everybody in the audience that were able to make this this chat. One of the key things that at least we came across, which again some of you in the audience will probably come across as well, is just opposition to change, right? Especially when you're transitioning a platform that has been in use for over 15 years. I mean, it's just like you have to prove out the value at all levels. It's not just your peers or the people that report into your organization, but also across different departments, across different leaders. So I think that's definitely one that it has to be done, and it takes time. But trust me, at the end of the day, it's totally worth it. In terms of like where are you migrating to from your old platform to new, and just what additional value that new platform brings.
Great, thank you, Anupam. And we have questions coming up from the audience. Thank you all for submitting your questions. So I see several questions on a cloud topic. So what is the role of the cloud in a BI transformation?
Yeah, I'll take that question. Thanks everyone for joining today's session. So the role of cloud in terms of this transformation is actually huge. So when we had this SAP BO reporting system, one of the major bottleneck or showstopper for us that if any user would like to I mean, go more detail on anything, like for example, from top department or company level to down transaction or order level, there was huge limitations in terms of drilling down to the lowest level capability. So because it could have been done in SAP's business object and then underline AS400 IBM DB2, but the amount of effort required and the role of DBA is huge. But when we move to cloud, the scalability opens for us. And now various elements, I can guarantee you, we didn't had experience of any performance issue so far. And the scalability, due to the huge scalability in Google Cloud, we can actually drill down to the lowest level. We have the ability to users also. If they identify any kind of issues or they would like to report any concerns, they can easily identify at order level, transaction level, what is causing the problem. And in terms of maintenance, as you guys know, Google BigQuery, we don't have to manage the fully managed service. So the role of DBA is no longer available. So we don't have any concern in terms of the database maintenance wise.
Yeah, I'll just can I just add one thing to that, Arijit? Thank you for thank you for stating that. I think one of the key things that I think we called out in our presentation as well is, as a company we continue to grow, right? And we will continue to do acquisitions and bring in incremental data points, data sources. And when you think about the cloud, it gives us that flexibility to kind of ingest new data points, data streams, and just makes us positioned for the future, right? So we're talking about the cloud data warehouse. Today, we do sit on-prem for MicroStrategy, the platform itself. We are exploring with our partners at MicroStrategy and how we deploy that in the cloud as well. So again, I mean, we have an active user base of over 500 some users. So we do feel like as we grow as an organization, we'll continue to need to scale that, and cloud offers us that scalability.
Great, thank you, Anupam, and thank you, Arijit. We do have a question that's also cloud related. What made you choose GBQ versus other cloud databases?
This one's easy, right? And again, not to minimize the question, but Arijit and I walked into it, right? So it was a decision already made before us. Somebody was already deploying it before us. So we had to work with what was given to us. So, and it's worked out really well, right? So I haven't personally had a chance to work with some of the other cloud partners. I don't know, Arijit, if you want to speak to that, but I mean, GBQ, to Arijit's points, worked out phenomenally well. And we have some really awesome partners at Google that, just walked us through the entire process and have been with us for the entire process as well.
Yes, I fully agree with Anupam. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Okay, our next question. How did you convert all the personal documents across the SAP BusinessObjects system?
Yeah, I can take that question.
Thank
So
you,
personal reports, we had various meetings and sessions with our business SMEs. And at the beginning of this conversation, we told them that we will no longer convert their personal reports. So that's why we leverage MicroStrategy self-service capability. It's a kind of a framework reporting where the user can select their own object, filter prompts, and build their reports. And we reviewed various personal reports just to make sure that our users are comfortable. And that's why it was users and SMEs responsibility to help them understand how they will convert it. But to minimize the difficulties, we had various training sessions, videos, we build just for our users only, so that it is very easy for them to just convert all of their personal reports in MicroStrategy self-service.
Great, thank you, Arijit. So we have a next question from Jackie. Do the SMEs do business intelligence full-time, or do they do BI alongside the rest of their job? And how is this working for you?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And the way I want you to think about SMEs is basically almost like a person that sits on the business unit that's a master of that domain, right? That business unit, and just engages with the BI team when new insights need to be created, and those data points either do not exist or they need help with creating like a view which they would then take back to their kind of user community, right? So these individuals that are SMEs are supporting their own teams on a full-time basis and engaging with our teams on, I'd say, like a regular cadence, and getting, just getting to know like what additional insights we're building or creating that they could benefit from as well. So I'd say like it's more of a part-time conversation, not like a full-time job.
Okay, thank you, Anupam. And next question coming from Rani. How do you plan and manage expectations on self-service capabilities?
That's a really good question. So I'll kick that off and then I'll pass it on to Arijit. But I mean, I think, again, just having used MicroStrategy now for the last, even at Dollar Tree and Family Dollar, I used to use it. So I've been using it for like over 7 years now. And it's been great, right? So the power of self-service is just that, right? It's like it gives you the accessibility of, based on your kind of requirements on, product, time, metric, and location, you can pull anything you want, right? And so as we are building new capabilities, building in new KPIs, we're bringing them into the self-service window so that our associates are able to get to that information without us being the bottlenecks, right? So you think about a traditional setup, right, where you had to go to BI teams to kind of build new insights always because they were, the experts. Now we're getting that power back to the audience, back to the people who are actually making these business decisions so that we're not the bottleneck. And that's essentially what unlocks a huge value for bigger organizations. Arijit, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, I fully agree. In our self-service reporting capability, we mainly do two kind of techniques. One is the cube-based technique, which was more primarily for our advanced power users who are very comfortable with dossier building documents. And other is more kind of prompt-based. Means there they may list down the 10 to 15 kind of different prompts. The typical prompts are definitely geography, and then time, product, and your list of various KPIs. So we design in such a way that it is much more simpler for our business users, and we provide also the instruction in the self-service framework itself, so that if they make any confusion, they can easily understand what are the correct selection for their prompt selection from the self-service capability. So it's highly robust, and it's well accepted by our business user community.
Thank you, Arijit. And I just see we keep getting more questions, and I just want to mention to our audience that we will address as many as we can live. And then for those questions that we won't be able to get live, we will address them outside this session. And now our next question is coming from Robert. How did you accomplish the change management on the end user side to get them comfortable with a new platform like MicroStrategy, even if it can do similar style reporting to business objects?
That's a really good question, and it's one of those where it does become a challenge, right? So if you're not able to sell the audience on the value that they're going to get from the platform, no one's going to buy in, right? So very early on, right, I think one of the key things that by identifying these SMEs, I think one of the key check boxes we ticked off is we brought them along, right? So they were a part of our journey. We made sure they understood that their inputs were valuable and they owned this product at the end, right? So, and I think that was key for us, right? I think it's just making sure that your community is not only engaged and they don't feel like you're pushing down a solution down their throat, right? It's more about bringing them along and just making sure that you're not only able to show them that, you know what, let me show you, you can do exactly what you were doing in the old, but here's the 3 other additional things you can now accomplish because you have MicroStrategy versus what you're able to do in BO. So I think, again, a phenomenal team that I have at Crate here that helped along that way and along those discussions. That was really helpful. Arijit, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, and also we emphasized some of the bottleneck we had in business object, and we convince our business users that if we switch into MicroStrategy, what are the big gains or benefits we can make it from MicroStrategy. And we built a lot of demo reports to showcase those to our business users so that they can also feel comfortable with the new framework.
Thank you. And actually, Arijit, this brings us to this next question that's coming from Timothy. What was the value gained from moving from business object to MicroStrategy?
That's so I'll can I kick us off on that one?
Yeah.
So one key thing, guys, if you saw our story, right, we were paying for 2 contracts, right? So one immediate value is now you're not paying for 1 contract, right? So that's savings in the bank that we were not getting. But outside of that, obviously the tools capabilities itself, I'll let Arijit speak to it.
Tool wise, we as we said in our session, that we are using a very old SAP version, which is I think 4.0, something like that. And the capability in that version was very limited in terms of the visualization. And we were trying to showcase our business community what are the biggest gain in terms of the dossier. It's a very powerful feature in MicroStrategy. And then subscription, you can schedule your own reporting. Even I know we can do it in SAP also, but we emphasize on some of the capability like dossier, report service document. And in terms of managing SAP and MicroStrategy, we noticed one thing, that when we build any report in especially SAP BO, and suppose for any specific data set, you have to create a lot of different small report or subquery, and then build the final version of the report in SAP. But in MicroStrategy, it's all centralized schema. And once you build your attribute and the schema architecture, you can reuse for multiple reporting purposes. I mean, you don't have to build the same query for some other users. So centralized schema or having one version of truth in MicroStrategy help us to reuse a lot of our object which you developed. And I think that is one of our biggest gain in terms of moving into MicroStrategy.
Great, thank you, Arijit. And the next question is coming from Santosh. What is your self-service analytics strategy? And do you have any other reporting visualization tools such as Tableau, ClickView, Power BI, etc.?
Yeah, so let me take the second part. So the second part we do, right? So again, our audience of over 500 users, a majority of those folks are store users who are mainly consuming this information. And MicroStrategy helps us kind of deliver that to them, right, on a regular basis. So, but then we have power users who are also leveraging tools like Tableau. And actually, Tableau is the only one. I think we were pausing Power BI. And mostly in some very specific areas to do some advanced graphing and things like that. But there's no reason for us not to kind of have a conversation with those folks in those areas at some point in the future to kind of start migrating some of those capabilities back into MicroStrategy. Because as an organization, I don't want us to go in a direction where we are, paying for multiple platforms, because that's the first place that you'll start getting to that multiple sources of the truth, right? Because some of these people are, creating their own data sets and not really using a governed data source, which is what we're creating in the cloud as well as through MicroStrategy. Arijit, I don't know if you want to take the first part of that question.
Yeah, on the self-service capability, we are. I won't say that we have done with self-service reporting framework. We are still continue improving and bringing in more KPIs when we bring it into the cloud. But as Anupam said, we have a typical set of users. Suppose most of our, I will say, if you divide the type of user, there is a certain set of users who are specifically store users. They do not come for self-service reporting. They have all the CAN reports, they execute, they know how to pull the information for their stores. And then there are two kind of users, power users. One is who are more familiar with the CAN reports, which we build them, and they just consume it from MicroStrategy library or MicroStrategy web. And another is a kind of self-service where we continue improving by providing more and more KPIs and make them help understand how easily they can bring in all this information together into one single reporting framework. So I don't know whether it answers your question. So this is something which we haven't, I will say 100% completed, but This is something we are continue evolving with new techniques, with our keeping our base infrastructure or reporting framework as same.
Great, thank you. And next question's coming from Thomas, and Thomas would like to know what version of Business Objects were you on?
Yeah, it was 4.1.
4.1.
4.1, thank you. Next question, how many reports are we talking about? How many users?
Yeah, I think Apurva answered that. Thanks, Apurva, on the chat as well. It's around 400 and reports and 500 users in MicroStrategy.
Yeah. So yeah, correct.
Thank you. And now we have questions from Javier. Good evening for all. Good evening to you too, Javier. How impactful was the cultural change of their end users to learn MicroStrategy? So.
It's a good question. I think if I had to just talk a little bit about how the teams felt about the new platform, I think for the most part, at least based on the feedback we've received, it was accepted really well, right? So one of the key kind of things for organizations to test that theory is that just shut it off one day and see what happens, right? And we did exactly that, right? End of August last year, we shut it off. We shut off BO, and we did not get even one single complaint. I mean, that basically says that we checked all the boxes of how we wanted to transition this platform, right? We wanted to make sure that everybody was comfortable. They understood how they could get to the information. And at a minimum, we were providing them insights that were already used to getting, right? And that's the key thing about change management is that if you start taking away information from users that they're expecting or they're getting on a regular basis, that's the first place that you'll get a lot of friction. We took that away. At a minimum, we provided them exactly what they were getting, except in a better, more advanced, and a much more simplistic way. So it was just a huge win for the organization.
Great, thank you, Anupam. And any strategy around report distribution for store users and ensuring time zone differences?
Arijit, you want to take that one?
For store users, we typically follow our corporate headquarter time zone, which is CST. But we just, since our stores are in different geographical location, we always wanted to make sure that our data are available before store opens every day. So because of, as I said, Google BigQuery's robust architecture and easy to deploy codes, we are able to publish most of our reports with the latest data by 4 a.m. early in the morning, so that when our typical store starts opening in our EST time zone around 7 a.m. in the morning, they have the latest data. And also we manage some kind of data tracker sheet when these different subject areas data, like say when our sales data, traffic data are coming into system, what is the latest refresh date. We do have that kind of data visualization for our end users so that they can easily identify or understand when the data got available into their systems.
Great, thank you. And we have a few minutes left, so we will address a couple more questions. So can you please elaborate more on why you decided to move to MicroStrategy from Business Objects? What was your platform evaluation like, and how you choose MicroStrategy to be your new modern platform?
Another easy question for us, right? Again, both Arijit and I walked into it. It was about 2 years before both Arijit and I joined, so I can't really speak to the evaluation process. I will tell you one thing, at least from my personal experience, is that, again, like I mentioned, I've been using MicroStrategy at multiple companies that I've worked at, especially in retail. I haven't found another platform that's much more stable. And it addresses the needs of masses, right? We're not talking about specialized groups and organizations. We're talking about hundreds and if not thousands of users that are in the field that need simple reports that are very clean, easy to read, and are consistent, right? And MicroStrategy provides that kind of solution for us. And that's one of the key reasons, at least from my perspective. Arijit, I don't know if you want to speak anything about your experience with MicroStrategy at other companies that you worked at as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not diminishing other products, but I have, based on my previous experience with other customers when I was working for, the biggest benefit of MicroStrategy is enterprise-wise. Means I am not saying Tableau is a very bad. Tableau is very powerful tool also, but in terms of enterprise deployment and huge volume of data extraction, then we see MicroStrategy is edging over others. Means I have used ClickView too. It's very flexible with the terms of users. MicroStrategy, Tableau. Means if you think about enterprise deployment where you have a typical store users, power users, corporate users, then what I believe MicroStrategy is a perfect platform where we can have our analytics deployment. But that doesn't mean that I'm saying that Tableau may not be able to do that. Definitely they can. They have more powerful visualization techniques. But that's what I feel in terms of enterprise deployment. That was MicroStrategy is one of the most powerful tools available in the market. I do not have, I didn't use Power BI or other products, so I cannot talk about those.
Yeah, the one quick thing I'd just add to what Arijit is saying is about other tools, guys. There is and you all know, right? And the audience that are listening in, right? And you worked in all these organizations. There's a set of people in the user community that just needs something that's much more flexible, much more robust, much more powerful than a web-based platform, right? That has some capabilities in visualization as well as analysis. Again, I'm not saying that MicroStrategy is going to replace it. I'm just saying that our use case, especially in retail, like now having worked for organizations with thousands of stores, this has been the cleanest and the easiest deployments, right? And it's so easy to use, even in the stores, right? You don't have to be a super smart user to kind of take some of this information and take action on that. And you want to make that information actionable and easy to read. And I just feel like, in my opinion, again, my opinion and my experience with other companies, this has been one of those platforms that just makes it easy. Yes, by the way, I saw the question. I have used Cognos. I used to use it at Sears. Again, you could do the same thing in Cognos, maybe, I don't know. But again, the ease of usage that MicroStrategy provides in the field at the store level, it's just night and day between other platforms.
Okay, thank you both so much. And we are at time here. So just for closing remarks, what advice do you have for those organizations who are looking to migrate from SAP BusinessObjects in this coming year?
I'd say, obviously, do the evaluation. I mean, we would have done the same exact thing if we were, starting from scratch and evaluating a platform. But it's worked out well, right? So we were dealt the cards we were dealt, and we worked with it, and it's worked out really well for us. And we'll continue to grow as an organization as we continue to kind of partner with MicroStrategy on other things like advanced analytics, as well as the cloud. So again, just don't get overwhelmed by the number of reports you're migrating. Again, it's really easy to kind of look at the 35,000 number and say, I can't do that with 4 people. Just it does come down. So just be aware of that. Arijit, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, and also during our exercise of evaluating those 35,000 reports, we didn't look into each individual reports, but historically what we found is most of the reports we noticed, it is the same version of the report having just different filters. Maybe a kitchen planner maybe using a filter on kitchen department, whereas the same report is currently used for some other department, maybe say accessories or housewares. So we identified the back-end data in most in 35,000 report. Most of the data has almost same in sales, traffic, and other KPIs definitely. But you will eventually identify that most of the users community are using actually same data, just different flavor of filters on top of their reports.
Great, thank you so much. And we are now at time. So, and to all who attended this session, thank you for your engagement. And thank you, Anupam and Arijit, for joining us live today and for this inspiring and insightful discussion. Thank you again and have a wonderful the rest of your day.
Great, thank you.